G'day everyone, Rune here, and here we have a what if for an anime that I've only recently started getting into. The reason for that is that shonen tends to be a bit daunting for me since there are so many episodes or books that I need to read or watch. I mean, One Piece at the time of me writing this has 99 volumes and is still ongoing. Bleach I had originally been trying to get into until I saw it had 74 volumes. And I was a casual worker in retail at the time, so no way I had money for that. That being said, I do know that Naruto has 72 volumes. However, since I'm trying to get into Dragon Ball, I think I can give this one a chance. That being said, it's entirely possible that Naruto being a girl wouldn't actually change anything. After all, the themes of loneliness, isolation, mistreatment, and revenge, which are all prevalent in the series, aren't specific to one gender. However, I would still like to give this what if a shot and see where it leads. We start the story way back when Naruto, or rather Naruko, was still very young. She is sitting at her usual swing, watching the other children play with a dead look in her eyes. Just like every other day, she's all alone. That is, until a girl with blonde hair steps in front of her and gets right up in her face. Naruko flinches back in shock and fear, expecting the girl to attack her or something. However, the girl gives Naruko a long, calculating look before smiling. "You really do look like a lost kitten." Naruko blinks in confusion. The word sounded like something that could be an insult, but the girl hadn't said it like it was. She almost sounded friendly. "I'm Yamanaki Ino. And you?" "Naruko. Uzumaki Naruko." "Naruko-chan, huh? Why are you sitting over here all by yourself? It's gotta be boring, right?" Naruko looks away. Now she got it. This girl wanted to make her say out loud that no one wanted anything to do with her. However, before she can tell Ino to go away, she says something that completely shocks Naruko. "Come on, you can play with us!" Now, I should explain why Ino is reaching out to Naruko in this timeline. Well, there is precedence for this. In the original timeline, Ino had actively decided to reach out to Sakura and befriend her when the Pinkette was being bullied. So I think Ino at this point in her life is just someone that wants to reach out and befriend others who are picked on. As for why she would do that now and not in the original timeline, well, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a kid that doesn't go through that "ew, cooties" phase. So it's possible that she would befriend a girl Naruko like she had Sakura, which is what's happening here. Shocked, completely speechless, but feeling hope blossom for the first time in a long time, Naruko accepts, following Ino to a small group consisting of a boy with dark purple hair, a girl with light brown hair, and another girl with pink hair. Fear overcoming her, Naruko hides behind Ino, who calls out to the others. Seeing that she's back, the three ask where she'd run off to which Ino states that she'd gone to get another player for their game. At this, she nudges Naruko out from behind her slightly, elicting looks of shock and fear from the boy and brunette, and a look of surprised confusion from the Pinkette. Ino introduces Naruko to the three, but the only one who introduces themselves back is the Pinkette, whose name is Harano Sakura. The other two just stare at Naruko before hastily stammering out some excuse and running away. Ino huffs in annoyance, wondering out loud what had gotten into them. Naruko, beginning to think that this was a bad idea and blaming herself for Ino's friends running off, apologizes for scaring away her friends and suggests that she should just leave them alone. She's already caused enough trouble. But Ino shoots this down, saying that Naruko is about as scary as a kitten, and if they're scared of her, they're a couple of wimps. Besides, she told Naruko that they were going to play together, and that's exactly what they were going to do. It's at this point that Sakura pipes up and says that she doesn't think Naruko's scary at all and that she would be sad if Naruko decided to not play with them now. Giving a small, genuine smile, Naruko agrees to play. And so, a bond of friendship is formed between Naruko, Sakura, and Ino. As a result, Naruko would have a support base that isn't purely based on Iruka or the third Hokage. Ino constantly referring to her as a kitten would also result in it becoming a nickname for her. Now, would Sakura and Ino's parents try to separate their daughters from Naruko? Well, I think yes and no. Sakura's mom and dad seem to be very friendly and open people, so even though they'd be worried about their daughter being around a Jinchuriki, they would still give Naruko a chance. Ino's parents might be a bit more hesitant, but after hearing Ino refer to her as a frightened kitten and meeting her themselves, they would relax a bit. During their time together, Ino and Sakura would also find out about Naruko living on her own, and after seeing the tiny place she lives in, beg their parents to let Naruko stay with them. However, the parents are sadly forced to explain to their daughters that Naruko is a charge of the village and that they literally can't take her in. When the two girls ask why, the parents simply say that they'll tell them when they're older. Naruko does also meet Hinata in this timeline and stand up for her. However, unlike the original timeline, this time Naruko has Sakura and Ino backing her up so she doesn't get beaten up. She also invites Hinata to play with them, wanting to extend the same compassion that Ino had shown her. Hinata, for her part, does agree to play, but due to her timidity and home life, she doesn't spend as much time with them as she'd like. So instead of them becoming a group of 4, it's more of a trio with a 4th friend that shows up sometimes. Think of the relationship that Neville has with Harry Potter and his friends. As for Ninja School, I think Naruko would do a little bit better in this timeline because she has Ino and Sakura there to help her understand stuff she doesn't understand, and that the teachers refuse to explain to her. But this only marginally helps, as Ino and Sakura are still only students themselves and don't necessarily know how to explain things to someone else. Also, Naruko still has trouble with chakra control, and as such, it's near impossible for her to keep up. Sakura and Ino, not knowing about the Nine Tails, chalk this up to simply a natural disadvantage that Naruko has. Now we come to an important question regarding this new backstory. Would Sakura and Ino still have their falling out over their feelings for Sasuke? And does Naruko have feelings for him herself? Well, in the case of Naruko, I'm going to say yes, she does have a small crush on him. Similar to the original timeline, she feels a kind of solidarity towards him due to them both having been left alone in the world. However, unlike Sakura and Ino, she's not confident enough in herself to act on her feelings or even consider doing so. This decision of inaction is only reinforced when she finds out about Sakura and Ino both having their own crushes on the Uchiha, not wanting to risk losing her friends. With Sakura and Ino, I'm going to say that they do still have their falling out. They're still very young, and if their friendship in the original timeline wasn't enough to stop them making this stupid decision, I don't think Naruko would change anything. Sakura and Ino still maintain their friendships with Naruko individually, but they never spend time together as a trio anymore. Furthermore, they don't really spend time with Naruko at school anymore, because despite being rivals with each other, they don't want to put Naruko in an awkward position by making her pick who to spend time with at the academy. This, unsurprisingly, backfires, as it makes Naruko think that they just don't want to be seen with her at the academy. At this point, the only one that comes near her at the academy is Hinata. It's still not the same as having her two best and first friends with her, but at least it's better than the complete isolation she had before. This all compounds on her, making her come to somewhat resent Sasuke, seeing him as the root cause of the whole mess. Deep down, she knows it isn't fair to blame him, as Sasuke really didn't have any control over any of this. But feelings don't really work on logic. This is the start of her rivalry/animosity with Sasuke. Jumping ahead to the start of the manga, we don't have Naruko pulling that prank of painting the mountain, as Ino and Sakura's influence has mellowed her out quite a bit. Instead, we have her sitting outside with Ino, talking about the Hokage mountain, and Naruko expressing her dream to surpass them all and become the greatest Hokage in history, which causes Ino to laugh and state that she's been saying that since they were 6. Ino then turns serious and asks Naruko if there's something wrong, as she's been acting rather distant lately. Naruko assures her that she's completely fine. Later, Naruko is training with Sakura, who is trying to help her improve her chakra control to the point where she can make a proper clone. Long story short, it's not going well. At the end of training, Sakura asks the same question as Ino and receives the same answer. However, despite her words, Naruko has an internal monologue about how she feels like she's being left behind, that Ino and Sakura are only spending time with her out of habit rather than the desire to. Yeah, girl has some abandonment issues. After that, you know the drill. Naruko fails the exam, Mizuki tricks her into stealing the scroll, blah blah blah. However, this time, both Ino and Sakura find out about what's going on. After the exam, both girls find out about Naruko failing and head over to her apartment in order to comfort her, running into each other when they get there. Before they can get into a fight, however, they overhear some shinobi talking about Naruko stealing the scroll and race off in order to find her. They both knew that Naruko would never do something like this of her own volition. She had to have gotten the idea from someone else. The question was, who? Now, since the girls had gotten a head start while the adults were talking, I'm going to say that they find Naruko just before Iruka. Naruko is surprised to see Sakura and Ino there and asks what they're doing out there so late. To which the girls counter that they could ask her the same thing and ask why she looked so exhausted. Naruko then explains that Mizuki had told her that if she learnt the techniques in the scroll she currently had, she would be allowed to pass. That they would still be able to be on equal footing and she would be able to keep up. Sakura and Ino are confused at this. The way Naruko was talking sounded like she thought they were going to leave her if she couldn't pass. Was this what was making her act so weird lately? It's at this point that Iruka approaches the girls, having heard what Naruko had said. He is just about to say something when he catches a glimpse of something and throws the three girls out of the way as a barrage of kunai come flying at him. The three girls stare in horror as Mizuki appears, demanding that Naruko hand over the scroll. Then, wanting to hurt Naruko and hoping to turn Sakura and Ino against her, he reveals the truth about the Nine Tails and how it's sealed within Naruko, stating that Naruko is the fox. To his shock, however, Sakura and Ino shoot this down without hesitation. If you really think that, you don't know Naruko at all. Naruko may hold the fox's spirit, or power, or whatever, but she's no fox. She's a kitten, and don't you forget it. Hearing this, Iruka smiles. Couldn't have said it better myself, girls. Realizing that he's not going to turn them against Naruko, Mizuki tries to attack the girls, only for Iruka to jump in the way and protect them. Badly hurt, Iruka tells Naruko that he's sorry for not being a better friend to her, like Sakura and Ino were. He then tells Sakura and Ino to take Naruko and run. Before they can, however, Naruko speaks up. She refuses. She's been running away from everything, from her fear of Sakura and Ino leaving her, from her insecurities, even from Iruka. She's not running away anymore. Facing Mizuki, she creates an army of shadow clones before leveling him with a glare. No one hurts my friends. And that, everyone, is where I'm going to end the story for now. Join me next time when we get into the start of Team 7. I'm Rune. See you next chapter.